Yeah, I should probably do something about that. This week on the War Review, Gizmo-Nizmo joins me as we go over some Web Warrior footage. We answer your questions and do live reactions to your offensive teams. I'm Run7. Welcome to the Situation Room. He's an MSF content creator and Mogwai expert. His name is Gizmo-Nizmo. He joins me today. How you doing, Giz?
I'm doing pretty well. How you doing, son?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. So let's go over some Web Warrior footage. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. So my web warriors currently right now, I believe they're actually a little bit higher than I think no, almost as high as my symbiotes. I am only liking them really in raids. Obviously, there's a lot of things locked behind the raids that you can't really use outside, like in war. Like you can blind someone with Gwen when they're slow, and I feel like that's really like important in any kind of fight. So they're a really fun team. They're fast. They have the trauma in raids. But outside, they're a little squish, a little on the squishy side.
Yeah, they're heavily debilitated, really. I mean, they're stripped down to a blitz team. Anywhere else, it's rough trying to use them. In fact, I'm learning a lot running them as a full blitz team about what they can do and what they can't do. Behind us, you see they're fighting into they were fighting into X Factor, which they just lost to, and this one is Uncanny that they're going into. Where are you using them on War? Are you using them in War at all?
Yeah, actually. So I was doing a war earlier because mine are 506 off War. I think they're almost 600k in War. There was a Doc Ock team, and I was like, you know what, symbiotes could beat Doc Ock. Let me try these web warriors. And of course, OG Spider-Man with that stun, Gwen with that ability block, really actually destroyed the Dr. Octopus team. It was a punch across almost. So that really surprised me. I mean, I did just for science kind of thing.
Yeah.
But other than that, though, I haven't had really good luck with like Marauders or like you said, X Factor. Like they just get destroyed, and it doesn't it doesn't go well at all.
I found that about the only team they seem to do really well against in War is the symbiotes, and you'll see here after this match we get into a symbiote play, and they destroy the symbiotes no matter what. I've tried them on auto against a piloted team, and I've tried to pilot them and everything, and it doesn't matter. They're just gonna destroy the symbiotes. But it seems like every other team, I mean, Doc Ock Sinister Six, everybody says, oh, we're having trouble against Doc Ock Sinister Six in War, and here's one more team that can beat him. So, which is kind of weird, being so many other teams that they can't seem to beat in War. I don't know. Are you going to be using them on offense or defense in War?
As of right now, I'm a huge offensive nerd. Like I love offense teams. You get your blitz your war credits like that. So any team that I could see that my alliance would struggle in, like Dr. Octopus, and Marauders. If I have a team that could counter that team, I definitely love using it. So the Web Warriors for right now, they're my war offense team, mainly for Doc Ock teams, really.
Right. I think for defense, a lot of people are saying, oh, they'll net you random DVs with their RNG factor that you might just get stuck. But I don't see them doing that. Maybe in the first couple of weeks, but I think we're quickly going to find that so many teams beat this. A Brotherhood team can blind them. One team that surprised me was that the Supernatural and Hella Naturals didn't work against this team. And I think it's simply because of the damage coming out from Ghost Spider. She puts out a lot of damage, and that team they just fold faster than Doctor Strange can revive them. So that's one team that doesn't work. But almost anything else really on a punch across gets these guys. But then you put them in raids, and they're freaking amazing. In fact, just this morning I did my 460k Web Warriors just autoed through 2.0. And I was like, "Whoa, wow, that's so much easier than the symbiotes." So
yeah.
What power level is your Web Warriors at?
As of right now, they're 506.
Oh,
yeah, I'm a huge Spider-Man geek. Like I have a comic book signed by Stan Lee of the first issue of Spider-Man versus Carnage.
Oh wow.
I really wanted them to shine, especially because my symbiotes were really like, I put a lot of investment in my symbiotes, and they just weren't doing it in Doom. And I saw a few videos of a lot of content creators putting these web warriors out, and they're just like, yo, at 400k, they're amazing, you know. And we actually did Doom 2 for the first time on, I believe it was on Thursday, and I was able to do the whole bio lane, you know. I was missing Spider-Punk, you know, I had a substitute anti-venom, but man, they were just 500k damage like per hit with Spider-Gwen. They're a very amazing, fun team. Animations are great too on them.
Yeah, I didn't realize you mentioned damage. I didn't realize, you know, I thought, okay, so Punk Spider is going to be the damaging force behind this team. And he does hit hard, actually. However, Spider-Gwen with her, you know, counter assist thing every time someone's getting attacked, she's actually putting out as much or more damage than Spider-Punk. So when people attack into this team, they tend to target Gwen first. Piloting them, you can get some for sure wins, but putting them on defense, I think almost anything can beat them. And you're basically getting lucky, hoping people overcompensate, not understanding that this is an easy team to beat, or that they just get bad RNG and this team actually gets a win. But you're not going to get many of them, I think, in my opinion. And I'm glad that there's a new team out there that can beat Doc Ock Sinister Six, because like you said, with what is it? You got Marauders, and now Asgardians are making a comeback, and then you've got the Doc Ock Sinister Six and Wave One. These are teams that we see everywhere, and we need just solid teams that can come in and beat those. And if these guys are beating Doc Ock Sinister Six, then they definitely, in my opinion, need to be offense. So
yeah, saves you a Symbiotes team, saves you a, you know, Shadowlands team, you know. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at. We have some questions from chat and Discord and stuff, so we're gonna go over those next. Okay, so question number one. This one came from Discord. Why are so many people telling me not to build for war? Do you have an answer for that?
I mean, I feel like, you know, at this point in the game, it depends where you really are. If you're like a new player, you know, obviously war is important, but it's not as important as getting your raids done. If you're doing U7 or trying to get U7, I think prioritizing raids, even maybe focusing in Dark Dimension might be a little bit more important than war. Just because, you know, you'll be putting investment into offensive, defensive teams when you could be putting that towards raids. Raids is typically the best way to get like a lot of, you know, gear and resources for your teams. So I think that's maybe why I feel like, you know, building for war is good. Of course you get your credits, but like in the end of the day, you want to start, you know, advancing in your game. You want to be able to, you know, do your U7s. You want to maybe even get to Doom. And of course you want to be your Dark Dimensions. Once you get into your Dark Dimensions, you finish the Dark Dimensions, you can start putting a little bit of focus into your war teams, a little bit into raids. But, you know, definitely I feel like maybe war shouldn't be the top priority. It should definitely be maybe something like I said, Dark Dimension and raids, you know, helping your alliance complete your objectives and maxing out the rewards.
Yeah, and I think the difference between a win and a loss in war is so negligible. And honestly, I was talking about this with Tony Scangili in his stream. I don't think there's a good way to fix that problem. I think this is the best that it's going to be for now, unless they were to make war efficiency based on rewards. But this is the way it is, and this is probably how it's going to be, realistically speaking. So building to get a win in war is not that important. It's rather just make sure that you have 10 to 14 good teams that you can get wins with. And if you're not full clearing or whatever, that's okay. The war credits are what you're really going for to unlock and star up your characters out of the war store, or maybe even purchase some of that teal gear out of the war store. But like you said, raids is how you actually push what you can do and push your alliance and your growth and push the boundaries. Whereas war is just going to help you to kind of unlock things rather than actually push the content. So I think that's why everybody says, you know, don't build for war, just use what's already there in the best ways that you can. Question number 2, my alliance wants me to place 10 teams on defense, but I'm new to war and don't have many teams to use. What do I do?
Anything is better than the shield troopers, you know. Anything you could really put into your defense teams will help out. I mean, like I have Ghost with the Pimp Tech, and they're like, Pimp Tech is low, and of course it's Ghost at like 140k.
Right.
you could do something like that. It gets a lot of defensive wins. It's a tricky team to beat. You might have to use like a really big team, but if you don't have 10 teams, I guess put one of yours. I wouldn't put your strongest tunes into defense. Of course, you want to get those wins if you could get the credits. But I mean, I was told this by my alliances. Hey, anything is better than the shield troopers. Anyone could go through the shield troopers with just one, 9K character. But put something aim. You could put Red Skull. Red Skull is very underestimated sometimes in war. People see a low Red Skull with a lot of minions. They're like, oh, I'm gonna use my 100K punch, like 100K punch up. I could do this. This is easy. And then they get destroyed. There's a lot of defensive teams that you get early on as a new player and as a mid game player. Put those guys in defense. Don't let the enemies get easy wins. But of course, in the end of the day, defensive teams lose. You're gonna lose your defense.
Yeah.
So anything that you could help your alliance to stop them from using, or stop the enemies from getting easy wins. Just put something tricky in there. Anything you could put, but don't ever put your strongest characters on defense, because then you're gonna definitely hurt in offense.
Yeah, this kind of goes with question number 1 a little bit. It's using the best stuff you already have on your offense, and then whatever is left over, that's going to be what's on defense. And if you want to invest in those defenses, you have to do the minimalist investment to get the maximum benefit out of that. And that's kind of tricky. So for the most part, just don't, maybe make them war ready. That does give you some big bonuses, but don't be making war ready a tune that you're not using anywhere else. You mentioned the Red Skull team. That's actually a really good team for newer players. You get Red Skull unlocked and you throw in 4 minions, and you don't really have to build that team up very much to make it do stuff. It becomes a challenging team, really. It's just like 150K. If you're very new to war and you literally can't field 10 teams of just garbage stuff thrown in, then take one character and put it in each slot. If you can get like a 50K Karnak in some place, that becomes troublesome, because one, the power level of that team is going to be something like 75K, and they'll just be like, oh, I'll take in my team of 75K, and they end up getting killed by that one tune because the power levels are so wonky. So that's another thing you can do. And the other thing, if your alliance is dead set on you building this huge defense, you should consider changing alliances, because the best players in this game understand that you don't build for defense. It's what's left over that you put there. Question number 3. This one came from my Twitch stream a while back. So this isn't a verbatim quote here. I don't even remember who asked it. What's a better defense, a synergized small team or a big team of random characters?
So that's a little tricky question right there.
Right? Not an easy one, is it?
No, I mean, I use Doom for my Marauders just because it's a fun team to use. They're not really synergized too much, not like a full Marauders, but I think in the end of the day, a synergized team will always work better than a non-synergized team. But it also depends who you put. So I think I'm gonna go with my. Oh man, it's tricky though too. I've seen some pretty good, we call it the vomit rocket teams, where they just put anything in there. You get Magneto, you get Surfer, you get Doom, you get Kester. You're like, holy crap! And those kind of teams are pretty messed up. But oh man, you know what? I think I'm gonna go with, it's better putting interesting tunes with each other. If you can make it work. Definitely test it out. But I think the end of the day, synergized teams will always be a little bit better. They'll have their passives more in communication with each other. So I think synergized teams will probably be the best. Yeah,
I think I have to agree. I think a small aim team can actually catch somebody off guard if they don't understand that you can't go into it with negative effects, rather than taking the same counter into a punch across on a bunch of randos. You're probably going to beat those randoms, where the aim team might catch you off guard and go, oh wow, that team has effects that I wasn't paying attention to. Probably the best bet is to look at your random tunes and find out what kind of latent synergy they have. You know, like putting Doom with Squirrel Girl is a thing to do because she'll cleanse an ability block off of Doom. You know, there's little things like that you can do where they're not natural synergized teams, but they still have some kind of a synergy that works well together. And yeah, it is really, I mean, it is a tricky question because it's like, what synergized team are you talking about, and what random tunes and how big are they are you talking about? Like, there's a trade-off. But I think in general, trying to find some kind of a synergy with what you put in there is better than nothing. And there are great characters too that have kits, and we're going to talk about those in some of these offensive teams that we're coming up on. They have kits that don't require a lot of power in them, and you get a lot of value out of putting that character in there and how their kit works. So yeah, I think a smaller synergy is probably the best way to go, but it's very dependent on the situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's go over to those teams I just mentioned and take a look at these offensive teams that we got from Athame. This is Athame's offensive teams, or some of them anyway. We're trying to shorten down these videos a little bit, so we're just sticking with the more interesting ones and stuff that we have actual things to talk about. So we'll skip all the boring teams. This one is the Hella Natural. He's a fan of the Hella Natural, and he told me that he uses this for the same thing I use it for, which is to beat the Doc Ock Sinister 6 teams, which everybody keeps saying are generating defensive victories, and it drives me nuts that that's happening because I don't know why. Do you use Hella Natural or Supernatural at all?
I actually use Hella Natural on offense. I just started building them up. Getting a 6 red Strange and a 5 red Ghost Rider kind of motivated me to build them up just a little bit, just to have fun. Yeah, they're a bunch of fun. Like, I love, especially with, like, you know, you got, you know, the wizard guy. I forgot his name. He
Mordo,
the debuffs. Mordo.
Yeah.
You got Scarlet Witch to extend those, and then in the end you got, you know, Hella to just spread it all around. It's a fun time. You know, they're definitely a fun team.
And the comeback feature with Strange, you know, I'm always losing 1 or 2 of these characters in a fight, and I still finish with all 5. That makes the fight very fun for me to play. And like you said, Hella spreading, like usually Mordo will put a blind on somebody, and you can spread those with Hella to everybody. So the Doc Ock Sinister 6 match, and I'm trying to get this out there as much as possible. You basically play this on auto focusing on Dr. Octavius the whole time. You use Mordo's stun on Doc Ock first, and then the second time his stun comes around, you use it on Rhino to keep him from taunting, and then go back to Doc Ock. And basically, everybody else is going to bleed to death in that fight, and so you just focus on that big Doc Ock, and then like you'll lose 1 or 2 people in that, and that's okay, because as long as your Doctor Strange is built up enough to survive that, he'll bring him back to life. And like you can see with Athame, he's got Ghost Rider 7 red stars, level 85. Like, he's putting down damage with that Ghost Rider, so that's good. And Ghost Rider's fast, you know, he's a good brawler, actually. I really like that character for the old meta. You're not going to be beating anything new with this. This is a utility team for beating older stuff, but it beats a lot of the stuff that Wave 1 is a great team to take out with this. You know, again, the stunning of the Hulk so that he doesn't taunt, the bleeds everywhere else kind of kill off the rest of the team, and it's fun to play with, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think you're going to want Mordo as a level 5 skirmisher to make sure that those stuns stick. I took mine up to gear tier 14, I think. You need Doctor Strange to collect those deflects as much as possible so he stays alive. Scarlet Witch is very kit based. You don't have to put much into her. She just needs to be there to extend those debuffs. Ghost Rider's a damage dealer. Go ahead and build him up a little bit. Maybe not this high. This might be overkill, but he had 7 reds on it, so it's not a terrible investment. And then I think Raider on Hella with gear tier 14 is probably as high as you need to go. She unfortunately is just terrible on defense anymore with Greg, so having her on an offensive team is where it should be at. So anything else you want to say to this team?
Well, honestly, this is one of those teams where you're actually having fun playing with them. You know what I mean? It's like they're very like that. It's kind of like when you had the symbiotes for the first time. You know, you were having so much fun beating everything, seeing all those debuffs everywhere. This is one of those teams where you're just having so much fun stunning. You're like, you know, you're having Doctor Strange revive, so you got the upper hand again. It's a fun team. I haven't built them up really high up, but they're definitely on my like top 5 fun, like, you know, war teams.
Yeah. I wish they could beat some of the newer stuff or something, or there's so many rumors about the different teams coming out, like the Midnight Suns, and we've got Blade is a constant rumor, all kinds of stuff where we could get either new members for this team or a different version of this team, or break this team up into two different teams. I don't know. But I'm curious to see where this goes in the future. As for right now, as long as people keep using Wave 1, as long as people keep using Doc Ock Sinister 6 and those other teams, I think this is something that people should have on their roster. It's not very good in raids. There's not a lot of use for these characters elsewhere. But if you are an OG player and you have these characters close to usable levels, I think it's worth it to put that a little bit of investment in, because I wish I had two of these teams at 500K. I wish I had two of them. So.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean, hopefully with that there was a rumor about, that Doctor Strange coming as a rework. I'm not sure if it's going to be this Doctor Strange. I kind of didn't really pay attention to what they're talking about, but I mean, he's going to have a great time if that Doctor Strange is his own that gets reworked. Hey, maybe you could revive him back. Maybe even a new Supernatural team comes out. He's probably going to be one of the key characters you want to have high up. So hopefully they bring him back. Doctor Strange is a pretty beast wizard.
Yeah, I've heard the Strange Supreme. There's a rework to Doctor Strange himself. There's the What If team that that could come out. There's a ton of different rumors involving him. Man, the rumor mill is out of control lately, to tell you the truth. Okay, let's move on to the next team here. Okay, I don't know what's going on with this. I don't know what Athame is using this team for. I think Karnak is trash. Now, I know that Athame has one of the most narrow rosters ever, and he built up Karnak simply for an unlock, and so he's using him here because he literally doesn't have anybody else to put in on this team. So maybe that's why I have trouble believing that he literally can't find anybody better than Karnak, because in my opinion, Karnak's like a bottom 10 character in the game. And then he throws on Ultron on this team. Maybe it's just what he has available to use, and so he uses this on those Red Skull Hydra teams. I'm not sure. What do you think's going on here?
That's a really weird combo. I don't. Mm-hmm. I mean, Black Bolt is amazing. He definitely has a few counters, but not a lot. He could still be a very tricky tune if you get him to use his ult. You're kind of like a Doom. You're kind of screwed if he ults. With the Ultron, with the offense up, the speeds up, and the heals could be a little bit of a problem. But it's a
could he be could he be using Ultron's bots for the turn meter rewind, giving Black Bolt a little more time to do his thing? Because Black Bolt's relatively slow, and so you say you get to his ult. Well, that takes 2 matches to get to his ult sometimes. So I'm wondering if Ultron's there to speed up this team and slow down the other team with the bots rewinds. And then I don't know. I'm guessing this is a Hydra killer kind of team is what he's probably using it for. I'm curious. I use this team on defense. I think is that traditional Inhumans with a Coulson and stuff. You see it all over the place. By the way, Uncanny does beat that Inhumans Coulson defense now. I found so.
Nice.
So maybe Athame's ahead of the game and he's getting this team onto offense because it's got one more counter now on defense. I'm not sure. Let's see. We've got 2 strikers, 3 people putting out vulnerables. I don't see any problems there. Lots of investment in the right people. Please don't take Karnak any higher than this. That's already... I think that's how high he had to get to, what is it, the Maw unlock, I think, or something. I'm not sure. And then honestly, honestly, if you can take up Miss Marvel instead of Karnak for that unlock, you'd be better off. Crystal's there for her kit, although the healing, there is a case to be made to bring her up higher. I don't like stopping at 13. I like either stopping at 12 or taking characters to 14 because of the bonuses on the gear. I think Yo-Yo is just perfect right where she's at. So I don't really see any problems with this team other than, see if you can use better people. But I don't, if it's getting done what he needs it to do, then that's it. That's it, man.
Yeah, I'm the same.
All right, let's...
You 12 or 14. Yeah. That's it.
Yep. All right, let's see this one. This is the New Warriors with, we got Surfer and Loki in here. Loki is going to make Cloak go before Deathpool, so you have an opportunity to spread more blinds. There's a lot of control with this team. You've got Surfer coming in. I believe Surfer will attack after Loki, so if Loki's a skirmisher, if you place that vulnerable on the right person, then he's not only going to put ability block on that person, but he'll come back with his basic and steal positive effects or clear negative effects if he happens to have them. And then Dagger is just going to light stuff up. He made Dagger a Raider instead of a Striker. Normally people go the Striker Skirmisher combo with those two, but Raider's being talked a lot about today as being more powerful than Striker. But the real reason I think he did it is probably because he's already got 2 Strikers on this team and he wanted more vulnerables out there. However, Cloak puts out lots of vulnerables in his kit, and so does Dagger with her kit too. So there's going to be tons of vulnerables on this team. I think that's a questionable choice probably is the Raider Striker thing.
Yeah, I definitely like the Striker on Dagger. Those bleeds, she does a lot of damage. So those bleeds will kill a character when they're like, almost gonna die, and then they go next, and I just love seeing them just flop.
Oh yeah.
And, Dagger's insane. She's definitely a great character. This team right here is a very scary team as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is something you'll have to maybe even use a mirror match, maybe try to get someone that could go a little bit faster, so Cloak doesn't go and just ruin your day with all those blinds and all those debuffs. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this is a very, very fast Mystic offense team, in my opinion. This is what I kind of use when I fight something. If I want something dead really quick, it's like I'll use this team because this team is amazing. But the only problem with this team is if you can't land any of those debuffs, or you're getting a hard time to get Cloak or Dagger off, it's a little bit of a squishy side team too. So yeah, using these for something like an offense it's very fun. But if you see something like this on defense, you're gonna have a bad time if you don't use precaution on this.
On defense, I think you would want to switch Silver Surfer over to Raider, because Strikers, like, that's a control feature when you're piloting the team. You don't get a ton of value out of that if you're not piloting the team and going into those vulnerables, because of the way his kit is built and all that. And I think with him doing splash damage on his special and ultimate, doing full AoE and stuff, Raider's probably the way to go when you run him on defense. This is an offensive team and you're getting tons of control out of it. I like the way this is built for offense. Another thing you can do with this team is swap out Surfer for Emma, and that makes them seem that much faster by slowing down the enemy 10%. And that's kind of the one thing about this team. Like, if you can stop Cloak from blinding everybody and doing all those negative effects, you can kind of fold this team. You get in, you stop Cloak, and he is easy to kill. He's not very tough. He's just dodgy. So you beat that RNG, you beat that time, you can beat this team. But as long as this team's faster than anything you have to worry about, as long as you have the control to go into the right vulnerables and place the vulnerables where you need them, I think this is probably one of the best offensive teams in the game right now. At least, well, I'd say top 5 for sure. Top 5 offense teams for sure. Yeah. And a lot of those teams that I'm counting in that top 5 list, people are using on defense anyways. You don't even have to worry about.
Man.
But yeah, good team.
Yeah.
All right. And then here is one. We talked about kits, passive things in their kits, and a way to use people's kits without having them built up. Fury is the man for that. You don't have to build Fury up very fast to make him very effective on this team. You just hit his special first instead of bringing in the summons, speeding up the rest of the team, giving them the go-ahead. This team can punch up on a mirror match like 100k easy, because your Fury gives you the turn meter to go first, and then you can delete their Kestrel with your Kestrel, things like that. This is an amazing team. This is, again, one of the best offensive teams in the game. I don't think this should ever be used on defense, at least not with Fury in there, because he brings in his minions, and just that's a wedge for teams like Axeman or Symbiotes if you know how to play it. Let's see, we got Striker, Healer over here, Raider on Kestrel. We got another Raider fan there, and then Skirmisher here. I think that's kind of strange. Don't we normally go Skirmisher on Sam and Striker? Or am I getting that backwards? Oh, most people do that the other way around for the assist.
Skirmisher on Sam and then Striker on Sharon, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's how I usually do it. Actually, with this team, how you said, this shouldn't be used on defense. I'm putting, that, what is it, Reactor, you get defense down right away.
Yep.
So I actually have this team except Fury, I believe.
Right.
I forgot.
And you're in a defense down room, so So yeah, that's the way to go. And you put Coulson in there, he opens up early, pings those defense downs, and then Kestrel just starts annihilating. That's the way this team should be used on defense. But if you put Fury in there, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work right.
Yeah, no, seeing 11 defensive wins from my last war was probably the best feeling ever. Like, y'all tried to get these guys so bad. They had to use Eternals to get them down. And I have a 6-red Kestrel too. So she's a force to be reckoned with, you know, and it's but yeah, no, this team though on offense, it could beat a lot of teams on defense. Like it's a great team. Captain Sands probably hands down the best tank in the game. You know, the deflects, and then Sharon giving him more deflects with Sharon Carter or Maria Hill. It's a fun shield.
Yeah, team. Maria Hill healing everybody up because of all the blocks that are happening in here. That's another thing. Like you could put this team on defense with somebody like Dr. Octavius or Blob or something, and he's passing out even more of those deflects, which makes this team heal more. I think Coulson's the best way to go for that defense. But for offense, Fury's fantastic. You don't have to invest much into him because he's giving speed up. And then the other thing you should do is not make him a healer, but rather a raider, so he crits more. And then place him on the end adjacent to Kestrel. So you should probably swap places with Sharon Carter and Fury right now. And that way you use his special to get speed going, and then you use his basic, and he's going to crit, and he has the opportunity to give out 1 or 2 bits of energy to Kestrel. So she's doing more of her bigger moves faster. And you just forget his ultimate, unless you feel that you want to bring out those minions so that they can proc the defense downs. But that's kind of a user beware kind of thing. And the other thing is, you know, those minions will spawn with death proof. And so who cares how big they are? They're not going to die on their first hit, and you just need them to be alive long enough to proc Kestrel. So I think Fury on this team is a great offense. I think he should be a raider, and I think he should do a placement swap. Also, I don't know why the skirmisher strikers reversed on these two. I think it's better the other way around because of the way their assists work. And her basic counter assist. So, all right, pretty good there. Moving on, we have the Axeman, or the astonishing Axeman, the astonishing X-Men, I should say. He went skirmisher, striker, skirmisher, healer. A lot of people put skirmisher on everybody except for Bishop, who is a striker. And then of course his placement is kind of interesting too. A lot of people like to put Bishop on the end. He put him in the middle. Do you know why that is? That placement?
Put him in the end so he doesn't, I guess, chain react because he has counter. So counter breaks, you know, or I guess when you hit multiple enemies, it breaks the chain.
So he put him in the middle here with specifically these two on either side. Iceman has a revive. Kitty is very dodgy. And it's 2 opportunities for these people to go low in health, but hopefully not die completely, which will speed Beast up that much faster. And so that's one way. You can also put him off to the side and then put those 2 adjacent to him, whether it be Kitty or Iceman, whichever way you want to do it. And that keeps things, you know, damage away from your Beast and away from your Jubilee. But I personally like this placement. And then he went with healer on Beast. I like skirmisher. I've tried both. I like skirmisher better on Beast. And then my Jubilee is a striker, but I wish I had gone skirmisher. She's good enough as a striker that I'm not going to change her. But I wish I'd gone skirmisher to start with on that. So, and are you running Beast as a healer or a skirmisher?
Skirmisher. I tried healer, but skirmisher, just, you know, stripping those buffs it's key, especially those taunts. You know, I know Kitty has like that. I want to say her ult, I think it is, that, you know, her speed bar goes up, but like sometimes you just had your Kitty go, you know, there's a taunt from a Rhino, there's a taunt from, you know, another tune that could you know, have that up, and Beast being there to just strip it away, you know, you get your control back.
Right.
That's very important, especially in raids, and even sometimes in war. Like you're trying to fight something, and, you know, let's say you're trying to find a Magneto team, and you want to take away that taunt from Blob and just offense up. You know, he'll do that job for you. And you know, striker on Jubilee, I love it. You know, especially like in raids, you're constantly blinding everyone. Even in Dark Dimension, you know, I know it's a very lower chance off raids, but, you know, having her blind on Dark Dimension is pretty fun too.
Yeah, into a vulnerable, though she doesn't have a in raids, you know, it's guaranteed basically that she's going to blind, and everywhere else it's just a percentage chance. I forget what it is, but have into a vulnerable, you're doubling that, so she almost always lands a blind. And so, yeah, so there's a case to be made going striker there, but I have seen enough people do it as a skirmisher that basically if you're using this team on auto, skirmisher's the way to go here. When you're really getting down to the nitty gritty of controls on an offense in war or in raids or something, I do like striker. But I think Beast for sure should go ahead and be a skirmisher. I don't think the value out of those heals is enough. I think this team is so fast, you know, the amount of healing you're getting out of one turn of Beast, who cares? Because you're getting tons of turns out of Beast. So yeah. All in all, this is fun. This is a fine way to build it. I don't, you know, once you get to 2.3 in the ISOs, I'm not sure if it's worth it to spend the ISOs to make a change, you know, on this team. It's pretty minuscule, but for those people who are building this team, I think you should go with a skirmisher across the board, striker on Bishop. And I do like this placement preferably is the way to go. All right, let's go over the last team. And of course, we started talking about Web Warriors. Let's finish talking about Web Warriors. He went full Raider across the board. Most people are putting striker on Miles. What are you running your team as?
I have a striker on Miles, and believe it or not, I actually have a skirmisher on Symbiote, or I'm sorry, OG Spider-Man.
Okay.
Just because I've been having a little bit of trouble. He is a 6-red, but I'm having some kind of trouble sometimes trying to blind or stun some enemies. Those defense downs as well. So like I need to get those out. So I'm running everyone Raider except, you know, Miles. I have a skirmisher, and then I'm sorry, striker. OG Spider-Man. Yeah, I got the skirmisher. They're running fine. You know, Gwen definitely has to be a Raider. She hits like a truck. So does Scarlet. So does Punk. OG Spider-Man and Miles could be a little bit debatable on it. What do you usually run your team with?
So I was running Parker as a skirmisher like you for the same reasons, but somebody talked to me about it, and they were just kind of listing all the effects of the Raider that you're going to have compared to simply landing the stun and the defense down, which is just a higher percentage chance. And it's true. Sometimes you really do need that stun to land, and when it doesn't, you're pretty upset. But I switched him. I ended up switching him to a Raider. I'm going to take him into the blue with Raider. And I think that's probably just a choice. Like for war offense, I think the skirmisher is probably going to be a better choice. But I think for raids, I think the Raider is going to be a better choice. So what do you want to do? And then Miles, I tried a setup with skirmisher, striker on Miles and Ghost Spider respectively. For raids to land those blinds. Every time she does a special, he comes in with assist, would land the vulnerable, she would come back with her basic and blind them. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm like, no, this would be great if it worked that way in war or other game modes. But in raids, you want her as a Raider. You want him as a striker for clearing those positive effects. He's the only one really clearing positive effects for the most part. And when he's clearing, what was it, 3 on his basic or something? Yeah, you definitely want him as a striker. So I think the Raider on him is probably a no-no. The other thing that I did, and I don't recommend this, but I had to try it out, was I made Scarlet Spider a healer. He is a 2.1 healer on my team, and he's doing... I think it's like 16,000 health that he heals whenever someone attacks, and it's not enough. It's not enough. If he was doing like 25,000 whenever someone attacks, definitely he would be a healer. But like at 16,000, and he's pretty much, I think he's level 75, but otherwise he's geared just the same. Or no, Thames is way bigger than mine. I think mine's only 100k. Geared tier 14, level 75. But yeah, the heal isn't working well enough, so I don't think that's gonna do it. What I do need to do just today in that bio lane, if I want to move up to do Doom 2.1, I'm gonna have to put the T4 in Parker's special. I believe it's the one that gives him 50% drain. I'm gonna need that because Peter Parker seems to be dying, or at least getting hit a lot, coming really close. And yeah, if I go up in difficulty, I'm definitely gonna want to put that T4 in there to change it. And I think Raider's the way to go on Scarlet Spider. There's just too much damage, the crits, all that, you know, especially if you're running the 5-piece with Punk Spider, giving him all that extra crit and crit damage. Raider's just really the way to go. I think he is missing out, however, keeping miles a raider. I think clearing those positive effects is so useful. All right, thank you, Gizmo-Nizmo, for joining me. If they want to find you, where should they be looking for you?
I am live on Twitch. I usually stream Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, 7 p.m. Central Time. You guys could find me there. Yeah, I don't really have a YouTube, but maybe it's a work in progress. For now.
Well, you seem to know the game pretty well. I think people might subscribe to that.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. I love helping new people, especially new players. They come in my chat. I definitely love give them good guidance because not a lot of us had guidance, and it's nice when someone's there to tell you, hey, don't invest in Karnak.
Yeah, for real. For real. All right, and you can find links to him in the description below. So we're still working on a sign out. I guess it's good luck in matchmaking, Commanders.
There you guys.